Cancer taught me all that matters is alignment with my soul. None of these emotions are because of anyone or anything. And the second you take the emotion out on someone or something, including you, you're not healing. You're not feeling. You're avoiding. Burnout is just a symptom of self-betrayal.
Welcome to the Hot Flash Health Podcast, where we're dishing out unfiltered truths about menopause with a side of sass and a sprinkle of grass.
Get ready to dive into the wild world of hot flashes, mood swings, and all of the other joys of being a queenager.
This ain't your grandma's podcast. No, we are here to talk our bodies, our fears, our passions, our desires, all while navigating this wild roller coaster ride of menopause.
So grab a glass of wine or three. Kick back, relax, and let's enjoy this hot flash wave together.
I'm Courtney Mamusha, and alongside me is my fabulous co-host, Dawn Fable.
We're just two outspoken broads who like to call it how it is.
Now, without further ado, let's kick off today's episode.
Welcome back to the Hot Flash Health Podcast, where we are sweating, swearing, and laughing our way through menopause. Because let's be real, if we don't laugh, we might just rage, or better yet, quit life. Today, we are diving into something just as important as hormones and hot flashes. Emotional healing, stepping into our power, and learning how to rewrite the stories we've been telling ourselves for way too long. Our guest today is simply amazing. She's someone who has literally been breaking the silence on healing, leadership, and self-worth, Rebeccah Silence. She is an award-winning author, coach, and media powerhouse who have helped thousands of women just like us reclaim their lives, turn their pain into power, and step into unshakable confidence. As the creator of the Own Your Own Voice Society, Rebeccah has built a movement for women to heal from the past, find their voices, which we all could use more of, and create lives that actually feel like our own. She's also the founder of Inspired Results, where she's on a mission to ensure every child grows up with healed, joyful parents, and every woman, most importantly, learns how to lead with heart, confidence, and clarity. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Rebeccah's journey isn't about guiding others. She's lived it. Diagnosed with cancer while pregnant and given only a 5% chance to live, she went through premenopause, adrenal failure, and a total and complete health crisis, only to come out on the other side stronger, more aligned, and more trusting of her body and intuition than ever before. Rebeccah, you look so beautiful, and we are so happy to have you today. Welcome!
Well, thank you for having me. Let's have a hell of a conversation. I'm very excited.
Oh, girl, you have been through it. So we are pumped to dive in. What an extraordinary gift you've been given to be on the other side of this. And I'm sure such a changed perspective.
I'm lucky enough to call Rebeccah one of my friends. We haven't been in touch in a long time, but we actually ran into each other at the Women in Media. So what a great way to kind of reconnect and share your story. And anybody who knows you, meets you, just knows you're so full of love, light, inspiration. And I'm just lucky to have you in my life. So thank you for being on. With such an incredible history, can you take us back to a moment in your life that maybe you realized you had to fight for your life, right? And how that helped shape everything that you're doing today?
Well, when I met you, Courtney, it was another lifetime ago. And that was the beginning of fighting for my life because I had just gotten out of a domestic violence marriage with a 2-year-old. And I don't know if I had even shared that with you at the time that we met, but that's where I was at that time. And I really didn't know who I was. I didn't trust myself. I didn't have the confidence to get out of that situation for me. If I didn't have this 2-year-old with my same big blue eyes looking at me, I don't know if I would have ever left the situation. And I wasn't somebody who cared about me or my life at that time. But once I had the responsibility of being as healed of a mom as possible for this kid and making sure she was safe, it gave me perspective that I deserved to be safe too. And that was the first time the bottom fell out of my life. And then the second, both my kids saved my life, was when I was pregnant with my now 10-year-old and coaching a plastic surgeon and his wife who said, Rebeccah, you saved our family, you saved our marriage, and this thing on your arm, that's not okay. Come into the clinic at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Let us take it off. And 7 months pregnant, malignant melanoma, no family history of cancer. Obviously, I don't tan, and I'm the whitest white girl. And they ended up giving me a 5% chance to live. You know, what I know is nothing we're facing or have faced is more powerful than we are. But without cancer, I wouldn't have met myself the way I did, or divine love, divine intelligence, what I call God, the way I did. You know, healing is possible when you commit to what you have control over. So I've learned a lot. I'm so grateful to be on the other side. I'm so honored for the warm welcome here today, and use me up however you can for your beautiful audience. And thank you for this show, because it's really important.
I find it so interesting that, Rebeccah, as you just shared, it wasn't until you really hit your breaking point twice that you realized you needed to change. And I think so many of us women, particularly looking on the inside with our intuition, tend to ignore that until we hit rock bottom. What, aside from your children, what was the moment for you that really recognized that you needed to change?
Yeah, and I'm the coach today that wants you to all hear me say, I'm a trained therapist. I'm a multi-certified life coach. I've been helping people heal since 2002. You don't need a breakdown to break through. I don't care what anybody else tells you. You do not need a breakdown to break through. You don't need to wait for things to get worse. And I didn't understand that until cancer. I think for me, when I'm told you have a 5% chance to live, and my older child is looking at me saying, great, I don't have a dad and you're going to die, I knew there had to be a better way to go about life and priorities. And for me, I only had control over my emotions, who I was being. And for me, cancer, I just realized, because at that time I had completely reinvented myself. I got married again to this gorgeous man who was all 22 pages that I'd written out, ladies, of what I required if I was going to commit to somebody again. I tried to scare his ass off. No way. I couldn't freaking do it. You know, I had this amazing toe curling, delicious love story. I had a business. I had gotten on the radio to reach as many people as possible. And within 2 weeks, a 6-month wait list, I was working 7 days a week, coaching 10 clients a day, selling out every women's retreat I was doing. And I thought very arrogantly, I had beat my past. And now it's frosting, because I grew up an incest survivor. I grew up in domestic violence. And, you know, our patterns repeat until they heal. Attraction 101, you attract what you haven't healed yet. Every trigger is an access point and an opportunity. And I knew that. I had mentored with some of the best in the world. I continue to today. But at the time of cancer, I just remember hearing so clearly this voice saying, so who are you going to be now? It's easy to be the best of you when you got everything you wanted. But now who are you going to be? Who you say you are? Or are you going to let cancer win and define you? And I made a decision that I was going to live like I was going to live, knowing very well I might not make it. And I made a decision that it was more important than ever to be the best of me and to figure out who that was, and to treat cancer like the ultimate life seminar, which it was and continues to be. And cancer's taught me so much about myself, but also about our faulty success metrics as women. We're so focused way too often on avoiding abandonment and on achievement to give us some measure of our worth and our worthiness to take up space in this life. And you don't need a reason to take up space. You are precious just because you breathe. For me, cancer taught me all that matters is alignment with my soul and emotional healing, so that I'm as clear as possible, so that I can hear my own guidance and divine guidance. And I made a pact with God that I'm not going to figure this out. Just show me one step at a time while I'm committed to living like I'm going to live. And I became me like never before, and really fell in love with who I was. I liked who I was before cancer, and I was so proud to serve. And I'm one of the best trauma coaches out there. I'm one of the best love coaches out there. But I didn't get it yet, that the achievement didn't matter. And me living on my terms, designing a life that fit in with me, was all that mattered. And that's all that matters for you. And just one more time for your nervous system, you don't need a breakdown to break through. I promise.
This woman a fucking radio show.
I know, serious. I'm like, there's so much to unpack there. I love everything you said. Like, who are you going to be now is so important to us, especially as us women now transitioning in perimenopause and menopause. We're having these kind of breakthroughs and understanding, like, okay, I've lived this part of my life, but who do I want to be now and what's going to serve me? And like, fuck everything else that's not going to serve me. And I also love that, you were faced with multiple bad, negative situations and you turn those into, a positive outcome. I think for us who do have kids, it's so important to, have those kids as your guiding light and being like, okay, I want to leave the world better with them. I want to be there for them. But also you have to look inside and you had to tell cancer, fuck you, you're not going to take me down. And I think a lot of what you're talking about is this emotional healing and the power of emotional healing. So if you can explain to us kind of what that means and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how we can incorporate that in our lives more. I mean, I know you've written a book and you do, workshops. So just give us a little one-on-one on like, what is the
yeah.
power of emotional healing?
The practice of emotional healing was my nemesis for a long time because, I mean, at the time I met you, Court, I was running marathons while I was anorexic, drinking my face off, 110 pounds, and just so hard on myself. But I just thought that was normal. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And I didn't have time for my emotions in the season where you and I first met. And I am a counselor. I had a 4.0 GPA in my master's degree. I'm helping people left and right. And literally, I'm a hot mess express at the same time. And my emotions, nope, we don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So if you can relate, give yourself love and compassion and no judgment against yourself. But I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have time to not move through and conquer your emotions. So I try to make this all as simple as possible because it really is. That doesn't make it easy. But all I could do while I was sick was scream when I needed to scream, cry when I needed to cry, shake through the fear, let myself experience joy and excitement when I could. I'll never forget this one day. My older daughter, who was about 10 at the time I was sick, came into the bed. I couldn't even hold the baby for the first year. I had drains coming out of me. I had so many surgeries, 22 surgeries later. I'm a Halloween, pumpkin, Thanksgiving turkey with nothing to hide at this point, right? But this one day, my older daughter came into my bed and we watched Home. And that morning, my husband had said, I don't know if I need to take you to the cancer hospital or the psych ward. Like I was screaming, I was crying. And then the same day, my little one curls up and we watch Home and we are laughing our asses off. It was the sweetest movie and all the emotions all in the same day. And so the way I teach it is there's only 5 naturally occurring emotions. This is the most important principle of the practice of emotional healing. Everything else is learned. You weren't born knowing how to be guilty or shameful or jealous or competitive or abandoned or betrayed or rejected or any of it. The overwhelm, the pressure, the depression, the anxiety. I've been clinically depressed. I've been suicidal multiple times. All that's learned. And it's how you cope so you don't have to feel your emotions underneath it all. So there's a massive distinction between our feelings about all of the bullshit and the emotion underneath it all that has nothing to do with the person or the situation, that's just naturally occurring and your humanity. So who you're being, you have a choice about. And how you feel, you actually have a choice about. And if you'll go from your feelings about all the chaos and nonsense and crazy, including menopause, which I've been through and come out of, you'll give yourself permission to get to the emotion so you feel your way through it. So then you can just commit to your one right next step for you. So the 5 naturally occurring emotions are anger, grief, fear, joy, and excitement. Anger, fear, grief, joy, excitement. And none of these emotions are because of anyone or anything. And the second you take the emotion out on someone or something, including you, you're not healing. You're not feeling, you're avoiding. So you're either willing to be brave and deal with the emotions underneath it all that won't kill you, or you're going to be living a life stuck in fight, flight, freeze. Those are the options. So it's fight, flight, freeze, or healed. And the most healed act you can take is embracing your emotions and not making them mean anything, just feeling it all the way. And I have so many clients. I coach badass, powerful women that have voices. They just don't know how to use them for their own peace, fulfillment, and joy yet. And they don't think they have time for their emotions. And your emotions will make you so sexy, so healed, so attractive that you'll become the Pied Piper. It's the opposite of what we think. They're going to be lining up to hang out with you when you're fully expressed and free. And you can't be fully expressed and free without a healthy relationship to anger, grief, fear, joy, and excitement. And the last quick thing I'll say about this is maybe you're more comfortable with the darker emotions than you are with the light. Maybe you want the light and you don't want the dark. But until you embrace it all, life's going to kick your ass and tell you, you got issues with anger, babe. You got issues with grief. You got issues handling and receiving the good stuff. And you don't need life to force your hand. You've been through enough.
Oh my gosh. I mean, what a refreshing approach, because we as a society, and you look at big pharma, right? We, particularly as women, we are not allowed, or we are told to suppress those emotions of anger, of sadness. And if we just sit with those emotions for a moment and sort through them, we will get to the other side. And it's only natural to have that gamut of emotions. So I love, love, love your approach on really embracing those dark emotions, because they're part of us and that they can be very powerful as well. So cool.
And I love that they're like learned, right? Yeah, because you always look at like nature versus nurture, and like, am I a bad person, or did I learn this, or am I, attracted to abusive people or people who take advantage of me, right? So it's like sort of like somewhere along the road, you're fulfilling something that hasn't been synced up, or like it's not really working for you. So you're keep on attract. I don't know. It's like weird that you keep on finding these attraction to things that are like bad for you.
Well, you're attracted to the ghosts and the violations of your past until you heal them. Attraction 101 is you attract what you haven't healed yet. My first husband, I equally participated in the domestic violence in so many ways. And he was just what I fell in love with. And that's what Attraction 101 is. All these beautiful spiritual teachers and healing opportunities to get this isn't who you are, and this isn't what's meant for you, what I call your survival self, because we're all bipolar. We all have a survival self and we all have a healed self. And I'm a trained therapist, trained in diagnostics. So I feel like I get to freaking say that. We're all bipolar. And if you look at what they use as diagnostics in the DSM, it's so vague. And if video cameras were following you on any bad day, any of us could be diagnosed with a lot of what's in that DSM-5. So I just want to point out, when you start to address survival and heal your way through Attraction 101, it will feel like you're dying. I'm not going to bullshit you, but you're not. You're just shedding who you're not. And then Attraction 2.0, I like to call it, is you attract who you've become. And nobody wakes up one day and knows who the hell they are. You wake
Yeah.
up one day and you realize you're surviving and something's got to give. And then you design it. And I kept the name Rebeccah Silence, my first husband's last name, because I love who I've become. I love who I've become. And you deserve, every gorgeous woman listening, to love who you've become. And you also deserve to not experience menopause as another violation, just like one of your past abusers, because that's what this is. It's a pattern that has nothing to do with the situation, that if it doesn't heal, it shows up like whack-a-mole all over the goddamn place. And even in a situation like menopause, you can feel violated. I did. And there was just more healing for me there. And there's more healing for you too. And I think that's good news.
Amazing. Amazing news. So tell us a little bit about women, and when we're going through this journey, a lot of us are experiencing burnout, right? So we're sick of our careers, we're sick of our husbands, we're sick of, our friends not calling us, whatever we're sick of. So there's so many of us running on fumes right now, right? We're juggling careers, families, responsibilities, everything. What are some of the first steps in helping somebody recognize burnout and really changing it before it completely takes over?
Well, right, because you do want to catch it at the whisper level, right? You don't want it to escalate into a problem or a crisis. It doesn't need to get to that point. But burnout is just a symptom of self-betrayal. That's all it is. And that doesn't mean it's easy to look at. But again, I want to make this so simple, right? I'm burnt out because my time, my energy, and my effort is not in the right direction for me. And I'm programmed to think that being a woman is about self-sacrifice and is about compromise and is about everybody else being taken care of so that hopefully someday it'll be my turn. And it's not going to be your turn. And you don't need to be sick to give yourself permission to get your needs met for a hot second. And you don't need life to be, light a match, burn it all down to give yourself permission to take your life back. And burnout means you're being someone that you're not, right? In many cases, who was the parent that was burned out that you're modeling because you don't want to be the other parent? It really comes down to that. My mom was burnt out. My grandmothers were burnt out. I never saw a woman that wasn't burnt out, right? And I thought, I'm going to beat that cycle and break the cycle by being a woman who's working and supporting my family financially and still burnt out. I just did it in a different costume, right? So if you're burned out, your needs aren't being met. You're not getting what you want and you're feeling like shit, and you have control over all of that. And what gets scary is I think often I was just working with a VIP coaching client this morning who's so afraid to lose her husband that she's willing to lose herself. And we talked about, hold on a second. The only thing you have to lose is you. Don't you dare let that happen. And if you stand for, because this is it, this is this simple. Here's what I want. Here's what I need. Here's how I feel. Here's what I want. Here's what I need. Here's how I feel. Here's the solution that would really take care of me right now. Are you open? And this person gives you a hard time or is trying to get you smaller. Isn't that good information to have? Because I want the people around me that are like, yeah, she's a spicy, sexy librarian. I don't know what she is. More of it, please. Like, I don't want down girl, which was what I heard my whole childhood. I married a guy with the last name Silence because I was so committed to silence. I silenced myself. Nobody did it for me, right? And then breaking the silence is you claiming your right to your needs getting met. And no one's going to do that for you. And if they don't like it, good information that they just want you needing them and they need you how they need you. They're not about you fully expressed and free. I want the people in my corner that want me fully expressed and free. I want you to have people in your corner that are fully expressed and free. And all of these obligations and tolerations and saying yes when you need no because you don't want to rock the boat. Oh my God, rock the boat.
It's so interesting that you say that because I think during this sort of middle age changes and dealing with childhood trauma and all the things that present themselves during this middle age awakening, a lot of women are experiencing sort of rocky roads within their relationships or marriage because they are speaking up and they are setting boundaries and they are doing these things. And it causes the boat to be a little rockier than it normally is. And so, it's scary to think about, all of a sudden changing and setting those boundaries that cause conflict and things like that for, a lot of us women who, are committed to our marriages. What is some advice that you can give with all of these things that are presenting themselves as middle age, and how can we navigate through this? And better yet, what are some advices for our spouses or partners that you can offer?
Absolutely. And my book, Coming Back to Life, A Roadmap to Heal from Pain to Create the Life You Want, is a great book to read with your spouse. Every chapter has exercises at the end. And I have heard people say, the conversations I'm having with my spouse after reading this book are better than we've had in decades, maybe the best we've ever had. So there are tools, there is a roadmap, but it's not, here's me giving you the way. I don't have your answers, but I know how to help you get so clear. You can't deny you have your answers, right? And it is brave to go, wait a minute, I can have independence and relationship, and I'm unwilling not to have both. And most people come to me and they think it's one or the other. I can be independent or I can have relationship. And I'm here to say, hell no, you need both because we're hardwired for connection, as Brene Brown teaches us. And just like I write in the book, you can't go without food. You can't go without love either. So I don't want you alone on an island, burning your life to the ground so you can have independence. I want you to have both. And what I think is also really important to recognize is whatever comes out of your partner when you're standing for both of you being free and fully expressed and having the relationship, that was already there. It was hidden in plain sight. This is good information to have. And I'd love for you to take on a bring it on approach. There's no information I can't handle. There's no information I can't lead through or navigate and come out more me on the other side of. And I used to think relationship mastery was longevity, like this relationship lasting for this many years meant I was good at relationships. Now, relationship mastery to me is about, I don't lose me for anyone for any reason. I stay me through it all. And that's my new success metric. And I've got a husband who literally will say to me, I just want to be the next Stedman, babe. You keep going. Like, he's not afraid of this ambition. He's not for a second afraid of my insane goals. And the next one isn't a radio show. It's a TV show. That's what I'm ready for. Case studies, watch the practice of emotional healing in action. You deserve people around you that are like, go for it. And you saying, you're not wrong. I'm not wrong. Let's understand each other better. And let's get really honest about what we both need to be fulfilled independently and together. That is the game changer. And then the rest from there is just information. There's no threat to owning your power, standing in your power, and expressing your deepest truths. It just brings information. I had a client last year who was going through a brutal divorce, and I heard myself in a session say, babe, if you can survive survival, you can survive alignment. Because all you get from alignment is information that you need.
Mic drop.
I know. There's so much I want to dive into with Rebecca. We're going to have you back for sure because
Yes!
I mean, all your books and all your workshops, and like, I feel like I need to be your client for sure because I think with us in menopause, and like, again, I feel like all of us are feeling like rage and stressed, and we've got mood swings, and I'm forgetting everything, not on top of my concussion, but everything before that. And now, moving forward. So how have you found, and how can others give themselves grace during this process, right? So, to Don's point, how do we like make our relationships when we are standing up more for ourselves and we're talking and we're, we're getting on our pedestal and like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this serves me, this no longer serves me. But like in this midst of everything else changing and this like tornado around us, like how can we give ourselves grace?
Well, first of all, let's just remember we have the right to be the eye of the storm. We don't have to get swept up in what doesn't matter and in what isn't necessary, right? But I think a lot of it does start with a next level relationship with our bodies. And not just when we're talking about menopause and perimenopause and premenopause, but our bodies know everything is a spiritual yes, please, or a spiritual no, thank you, period. It's that simple. And we make it way too complicated and all these stories and all these fears about dropping people, letting them down, disappointing them. I want you way more worried about disappointing yourself than you are worried about disappointing anybody else. And I honestly don't want you worried at all. And for me, I write about it in Coming Back to Life. I've been 110 pounds. I've been 225 pounds. And I have a whole different body post-cancer because I went into premenopause, adrenal failure. I was postpartum chemo. I ended up quitting chemo because it was killing me, not the cancer, the chemo. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I heard the guidance, do chemo, muscle testing. There's cancer in your blood. You have to do chemo. Then one day it's gone. If you don't quit chemo, you will be dead. And against medical advice, I'll just be honest with you. I quit chemo and all the drugs they had me on at the same time. The Valium, the Xanax, the Oxy, the sleeping pills, the Marinol at the time that had THC because it wasn't legal yet in New York where I was, marijuana. I did all the same day, quit chemo and all the medication, and I went into shock. And I woke up, I had a different holistic healer in my bed with me 7 days a week. I threw the kitchen sink at this mofo. And the next day after I quit chemo and all the meds, I had a liver detox in my ears from my acupuncturist. And I came out and I was like, I'm really going to make it. And it was the most beautiful, terrifying moment of my life because I knew no going back to how it was possible. And I really just wanted to go back to how it was. It was very dark and depressing and also so liberating. But my body told me what a yes was, what a no was. And I was in a situation where I'm fighting for my life. So I have no reason to ignore following the yes. And I just want you to give yourselves permission to follow the yes for no reason. And your relationship with your body is everything. My forgiveness chapter and my body chapter are the two I get the most feedback on, because my relationship with my body, the original title of the book, ladies, was I'm Not Too Fat Unless I Look in the Mirror. I blamed everything
It's
on
probably true.
I wasn't so fat then, and I was not fat. I got fat later, and it wasn't my fault. I can't imagine. I've had people tell me if I didn't have the pregnancy weight, I probably would have died.
Oh my gosh.
It kept me alive.
It's true.
And
yeah.
then it took a decade to just get where I am now. And I'm still on a journey with my body, but healing is possible. And what that means to me is freedom is possible. And when you're free in your body and you're emotionally clear and you can hear, this is the yes, this is a no, you know the next right step for you, which is always, always enough. And let things and people shake off and shake out that aren't in alignment with your fully alive, fully expressed, most healed you. And this isn't me being a bitch and cutting people out. I always coach people to end a relationship from a place of clarity and completeness and high vibration. And you can do that well, and you can love them and bless them into their future and love them from a distance, because it's just not the vibe anymore. And that's okay. But in almost every case, what I see is you taking you back and you being honest about what's a yes and what's a no, bravely, without fear of losing people, way more concerned about losing you. Now you can actually do the Hail Mary pass to salvage and reinvent and repair the relationship in almost every case, because now you're showing up. I had a woman once who was devastated coming to me. Her husband wanted a divorce. He was cheating on her, and they'd been married 20 years. And she's like, Rebeccah, I quit my job. I had his babies. I supported him. And now he's cheating on me. And I'm like, well, right. He's been with a shell of a person for 20 years. I'm not an easy coach.
Yeah.
Who did that? Not him. And I'm not excusing the affair, but I'm like, he hasn't had a partner in 20 years. You're just being who you think he needs you to be. That's not hot. That's not fun. And it can be hot and healed. It's not healed is boring. It's hot and healed to stay you through it all. And that's the only answer to save relationships in my experience.
Rebeccah, I wish we had you all day, because I literally have learned more from you in these 30 minutes than I have learned in months. And I'm so proud for Courtney and I and Hot Flash Health to share all of your wisdom and all of your knowledge and just your pure vibrancy and light with everyone. But we want people to be able to find more of you, to read your book, to, have experienced some of your sessions as a therapist, go to some of your retreats. How do they do that?
Please check out the brand new theunsilentwoman.com website and join me in my brand new membership, the Own Your Voice Society. That is the best place to get me as your coach year round. If you want the VIP direct access to me, you can email support@RebeccahSilence.com for information about that. But I would love this community in particular, as many of these gorgeous women leaders as possible in the Own Your Voice Society. And then do check out Coming Back to Life. Leave us a review. Message me. I'm at Rebeccah Silence and at The Unsilent Woman on Instagram. And if you just Google Rebeccah Silence, you'll find me.
You are a big deal, woman. We're so grateful for your time, and trust
And we
me,
will have you back.
Yeah.
I am a yes. I just feel like my whole life now is divine assignment and frosting. And I just get to reach hearts and homes. And I want you in your power. There's never a good reason to abandon yourself or your power. There just isn't. Thank you for today. I can't wait to come back on.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, that's it for today, you guys. We will definitely have Rebeccah back on. Don't forget to subscribe to us, leave us a review, and share this episode with your girlfriends, because who doesn't want to hear from Rebeccah? Until next time, stay cute, stay sassy, and keep those hot flashes in check, y'all. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Remember, menopause may be a wild ride, but together we've got this.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Hot Flash Health.
Stream and subscribe to us on any of your favorite listening platforms like YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
And of course, share your thoughts with us. We love hearing from our amazing listeners.
And until next time, stay sassy, stay fabulous, and keep those hot flashes in check.
Yeah, girl.
Woo!